Okay, let's start with our background project. Building constructions apply to any physical activity on the site involving in the erections of a structure, cladding, external finish, formwork, and many more. The location that we propose is Pago Education Hub, also called the first township in Malaysia to be seamlessly incorporated with educational hub, which is International Islamic University Malaysia, University Tun Hussein On Malaysia, University Technology Malaysia, and Polytechnic Tun Syed Nasir. The residential and commercial components to feature at Panda University Pago position as the area are meant to be for college students, families and household, and also business. The construction of this AEON Mall is likewise very important because it provides and offers opportunities for locals to have jobs and open their own business and agencies around there. The area of the shopping mall will be around 110,000 meters square, 2 levels on top of the ground and 1 basement with a depth of 50 meters. The location should be convenient for access by the targeted market. The intention of the mall isn't always advantageous for the student within the educational hub. It also gives advantages to the community surroundings. The construction of this mall is likewise very important because it provides and offers opportunities for the locals to have jobs and open their own business and agency around there.
For our objective, first to learning for manage and control the progress of construction project. Second, to determine the most suitable substructure and superstructure for project. And third, to identify the profit and costing for planning and management of the project.
Assalamualaikum, I am Nur Alisa Anis and I will present to you about the substructure. Substructure is the structure below the ground surface and it is foundation. Foundation is a support structure with the basically it will transfer the load evenly, avoid overstressing, stabilizing the building and avoid the movement of the buildings because of the ground. For this construction, the area is 110,000 meters square, which it has 2 levels on top of the ground and a basement with a depth of 50 meters. And to propose the foundation, we had identified the land, which is agricultural land, and it's basically a soft soil type. And for the type of loads, which are statics, wind, and dynamics, we propose the suitable foundation, which are pile and mat foundation. This combination of foundation is very suitable for the type of soil. For the construction method, there are 4 elements, which are pile construction step, pile delivery and cutting process, pile cap, and full stump. And I will explain to you this for the steps one by one. First of all is the pile construction step. To insert the pile foundation, we use tuang desiccated method as it is suitable for the soft soil. And the first step is the iron cast will be put into the pile spot with precision. And the second step is the soil will be removed until the desired depth can be reached. The third step is the reinforcement iron will be inserted into the casing. And the fourth step is the concrete will be poured and compacted in an iron casing. And the last is the iron casing will be pulled out when the concrete is set. Next is the pile delivery and cutting process. This process needed to be done carefully to make sure that the piles is in a good condition. Pile delivery process is the process where the pile will be neatly stacked on a flat and firm ground surface. It is to avoid from the piles from breaking or broken. Then for the cutting process, there are 3 steps. And first of all is excavation of the soil around the pile. Second is breaking up unnecessary piles, and the third one is reinforcement iron on the pile will be left and inserted into the pile cap. The next construction method is the pile cap. The function of the pile cap is to spread the load from the superstructure to the pile. And there are three steps for the pile cap. And the first one is less cement concrete with the thickness of 50 mm will be spreaded around the piles. And the second one is the reinforcement iron, which has been shaped according to the size of the pile cap, will be inserted into the mold that has been made. And the third step is the concrete will be poured into the mold that has been made. The last construction method for the substructure is the pole stump. Pole stump is a short pole which connects from the foundation to the ground beam, and the function is to transfer the load from the building to the foundation.
Hi, my name is Nur Aminin, so I will present about superstructure. Superstructure is the part of a building or construction entirely above its foundation or basement. One of superstructure is plinth beam. Function of plinth beam: deal with the load from the floor, roof, and wall. It needs to be constructed carefully from shear and bending. For part facing high tension, a greater number of iron or a larger size of iron is required in the area than in the compression region, and it depends on the shear force in the beam. There are two types of beam. Main beam span between the pool and distribute the load to the pool. We use continuous beam for the main beam. The continuous beam has more than two supports throughout the length of it. To support the condition in the beam, we use roller and pin beam. Secondary beam stretch between the main beam and distribute the load to the main beam. The main function of this beam is to shorten the span of the slab that is supported by a structure or bear the load in accordance with requirement of the use of the structure. For this secondary beam, we use simply cantilever and continuous beam to support the condition of the beam. There are 4 steps for construction method of beam in superstructure. For the first one is site preparation. The marked erection work for the beam position has been completed. The depth of the ground beam excavation relies on the height and thickness of the ground beam, as well as the space and the shape of the beam. Before less cement concrete is placed to a thickness of 50 mm, the beam foundation is compacted and leveled to guarantee that the concrete layer is isolated from the ground and a flat surface may be given for the beam. The second one is grade beam formwork installation. Following site preparation and trench excavation, form will be installed in accordance with the beam dimension, which must be specified in the design drawing. If the grade beam is put on the ground, the form bottom must be put before its side. In this instance, a flat sawing brick rather than a bottom shutter is constructed along the grade beam. Following that, either the reinforcement cage is positioned on the flat sawing brick before the side shuttering is fastened, or the form is positioned on one side before the reinforcements are installed. The formwork construction would be comparable to that of a conventional beam if the grade beam was built above the ground. Therefore, shutter must be installed on the grade beam bottom and both sides. In this scenario, formwork can either be fixed completely followed by the installation of reinforcement, or it can be fixed partially followed by the installation of reinforcement and side shutter. These building methods were chosen for their convenience and ease of construction. Last but not least, after the grade beam formwork is finished, make sure the grade beam dimensions are provided, including enough reinforcing cover. In addition, the location of the grade beam as well as the shuttering strength, waterproofness, strength of the formwork support for the grade beam, and verticality of the side shutter must be all examined. The third one is preparation of reinforcement steel. The reinforcement steel we use is steel bar. It is because the steel bar is strong enough to bear tensile load. can withstand the development of shear fracture or shear crack. It provides a strong bond between the concrete and the skeletal reinforcement, as well as similarity of qualities throughout the expansion and contraction process, and also reducing the amount of money we spend. Steel bars in concrete are subjected to high temperature, such as in the firecase. It is not easily opened or twisted. Last but not least is pouring concrete for grade beam. Concrete that has been machine mixed on site or from a ready-made batch can be used to cast grade beam. If the concrete volume is large, the former is preferred. Only concrete strength is required if ready-made concrete is used. However, if on-site machine-made concrete is used, the ratio of the ingredient of concrete must be determined. Before finishing the top of the grade beam, the poured concrete must be properly compacted using the vibration equipment or any other acceptable method. Finally, for 24 hours or after 1 day, the concrete has been poured, the grade beam side shutter can be removed. However, the lower shutter must remain in place until the concrete reaches its strength. The clear span of the beam determines how long it will take to strip the bottom shutter.
AEON shopping mall with gross built-out floor space of roughly 2 million square feet with on 26 acres, which is 110,000 meter per second, terrain 200,000 per meter per second. When it comes to initial investment, the open tender for a shopping mall should expect to spend between 200,000 and 400,000 on documentation. Initial inventory pre-opening costs such as rent and insurance combined with grand opening promotion and working capital estimate costs could be exceed 20 ringgit. Estimate preliminary costs, just like in the site, which is site building office, site security, light and power for construction, and waterworks for construction, and site signboard, holding, safety precaution, fire protection, site management and personnel, insurance worker, and contract document, stepping fees. Next slide is PQ and estimate cost summary sheet, which there is substructure and superstructure. Construction for AEON shopping mall in Park.
As the project superintendent, the client side project manager will be in charge of managing the contract during construction. They will operate independently and in the best interest of the client at all times when managing the contract, analyzing builders' claims, and examining builders' variants, to name a few instances. There are a lot of moving parts in a building job. Any changes made during construction will be evaluated on their own merits by the customer's project manager, and the best possible solution will be given to the customer. To avoid any inappropriate work which would result in delays and greater expenses, the client-side project manager would oversee these changes between all project team members. The project planning process focuses on obtaining resources, obtaining money, and obtaining the necessary people and materials. It provides guidance to the team on how to produce high-quality outputs, manage risk, gain acceptance, communicate advantages to stakeholders, and manage suppliers. The team will be able to develop this mall using strong project planning and completing their allocated duties. This is the stage where the work actually begins, and it relies on ongoing communication to ensure that everyone involved in the project has what they need and understands the project managers and developers' expectations. The building stage entails monitoring and controlling the project to ensure that it proceeds as planned. Any replanning or modifications are implemented through a feedback loop. The handover stage ensures that the project meets the stakeholders' expectations and that the objectives have been met. It also identifies and gives recommendations for support and change management initiatives.
In conclusion, construction sector is considered to be one of the main and major sources of an economic system and additionally education hub development. The construction industry represents the building blocks of a community, defining project scope, planning, risk management, organizing multiple activities, cost management, scheduling, and implementing effective strategies are some of the aspects and factors of a big creation project. The construction activity also are significant to the achievement of national socio-economy and also play an essential role or function to ensure that the student or either community has a good environment to hold their life activities. So that is all from our group. Thank you.